There we go. We should be good now. Put my mic on. Sorry about that. But it's your boy Kelly Flicks. Welcome back, man. And we gonna get into it. We got Pick'em. We about to get into it. We got HBCU bets. We got over unders. We got underdogs. We got all types of stuff involving HBCU football right now. We about to get into some. I'm about to give y'all some best plays of the week. I got top three plays. And essentially, we're getting through every game within HBCU football. You know what I mean? We're going to get through every game. D1, D2, I'm going to give you my opinions on whether teams win or lose. But most importantly, I got the betting odds for all these teams. Shout out to Reddit FCS. Every Tuesday, they put out lines for FCS teams, HBCU teams, and Division II teams. So check out them for sure. That's where I'm getting a lot of this stuff from. But I did want to put up this leaderboard right here to show y'all that I've been doing this. Okay, so in year one, I was like number 2. But in year 2 in this little league, you know, this is all the HBCU podcasters and everybody. As you can see, Timona up there, She Loves D. You got Brian with the OG, with the, what's it called? Podcast with the FAMU podcast. And then you got Fangs up there too. But look, I wanted to ask y'all though, is the math right on this? I was 43-6, right? And okay, so like say She Loves E, she was 44-11. Shouldn't I be above her? Right? Like shouldn't I have finished a little bit higher? That's what I was kind of thinking. I mean, because Fangs up, he 49-11. I kind of get he got like 6 more wins than me, but he do got 5 more losses than me. So I was just wondering though, like this leaderboard might be a little fickle, you know? Because I did skip like 2 weeks of the pick'em, and then they kind of caught me just a little bit, right? And yeah, now excuse me if I'm looking a little tired, man. I've been going back and forth between practice. I got practice again today, and we got our first games next week. So I'm looking rough, but I'm gonna get my cut next week. We get ready for media day and everything. So this is my last week of, doing this, So I wanted to talk about the leaderboard a little bit, and now I wanted to show y'all live, because we picking for the next year. So every week I want to be able to get on here and show y'all my picks. So let me do this real quick. Gonna throw this up for y'all. We got the pick. Take down that leaderboard, and we're gonna do this. Is that good enough? There we go. Okay, we'll do it something like this. All right, so here we go. Let's check it out. So here is my picks for this week, right? Here are my picks. These are my little top 5 picks for the Pick'em League. We got the little podcasting group. All right, so number 1, my best bet. I can't really see my best bet right now. I don't like that. There we go. Let me open that. There we go. My best bet right here. Best bet off the top is Delaware and Delaware State. I got Delaware beating Delaware State by a lot of points, y'all. I can't even front with y'all. I think it's not even going to be close. Looking at the betting odds right now, let me give y'all an exact line for it. It's looking like 30 points in favor of Delaware University. So my best bet is that Delaware State loses. But in all honesty, Vegas has them losing by 30 points, right? So in understanding that, gotta be real about it. That's Deshaun Jackson first game, right? It's going to happen in a couple hours. But I don't think it's a snowball's chance they win that game. All right, and then we got UAB and Alabama State. Of course, I'm going to take the easy win there. UAB is definitely going to beat Alabama State by a bunch of points. I think they have them favored right now by like 20 points. Then we got Florida International, Willie Simmons, and Bethune-Cookman. That's definitely a bye game, so give me the easy win, Florida International over Bethune-Cookman. Then I skipped over Jackson State and Hampton. We'll talk about these games. All these other games I skipped over. We'll talk about these games. But I went all the way down, and I got South Carolina State and South Alabama down here as my last 2 wins for this week of the Pick'em. Right? I got South Carolina State beating up on Wofford. They beat up on them last year. Wofford didn't add too much. I think South Carolina State hops back on them again this year. Then we got South Alabama and Morgan State there. The last game, you guys can't really see all the way at the bottom, and that's a bye game. Morgan State going down to South Alabama. Probably worst case scenario for, week 1 of the season, but here's Morgan State marching down there from Maryland to South Alabama. So I got South Alabama winning that game big. And then the tiebreaker is the combined points of the Prairie and Texas Southern game, which is interesting. So I went ahead and just took the over-under on there, and that's 52 points. So that's going to be my tiebreaker. But these are my picks. These are some of my picks for the league. I'm going to give y'all the rest of the 30 picks of all the rest of the teams. But these are my picks this week for HBCU Pick'em. So I'm looking to go 5-0. I don't think any of these teams will really miss. I played it really safe. Stayed away from Norfolk. Stayed away from the Alcorn State game. And the Alcorn State's only favored by 7 points in that game. That's going to be a little more difficult than a lot of people think. I don't think that's going to be a walk in the park for that Alcorn State team. Then from the Pick'em, the only game that I really was close to picking was this Tennessee State and North Carolina A&T game. That is a wobbler. We'll get into it, but that's a wobbler. Right now, Tennessee State is favored to win that game by 9.5 points. So you got to believe there's going to be some people buying in on that, going in for A&T, trying to take some of that money. And, I wouldn't blame them, honestly. Honestly, wouldn't blame them. So we go from here. We'll now hop back into the show. We're going to this is my first week doing this, but I do have somebody in particular I do want us to talk about, man. Give me just a sec here. We lost a member of the HBCU community this past week. Definitely want to show some love to the boy Craig Hall, man. Craig Hall was a big Texas Southern supporter and really a big supporter of Andrew Body. Really a lot of Craig. Craig was super supportive online of a lot of the HBCU podcasts, super supportive of his family. But he was definitely a very vocal supporter, somebody that always made his presence known. So just wanted to give a little time for Craig Hall because we interacted some on social media-wise. And he's always a cool dude. So it's, very sad to see that, he's leaving us so soon. But definitely he deserves his space and deserves to always be spoken about, especially in the HBCU space. So rest in peace to Craig Hall, man, definitely. All right. So from here, we'll go into each schedule. I'll go through each of the conference schedules, give y'all some of my opinions on the games. Then we'll get into the lines, right? The nitty-gritty of what's going on. After my opinions, we'll get into the exact numbers that Vegas has predicted some of these teams to win or lose by. Okay? So, number one on this list is this funky little MEAC schedule, right? We got a little interesting MEAC schedule. It's only a couple teams. It's never too deep when you think about, what's going on in the MEAC. You only got about 5-6 teams playing football. Very low key. Combine all that with the fact that almost every week MEAC schools play Thursday night games, right? So this week in particular, we got 2 Thursday night games from the MEAC. Number 1, we got Norfolk State playing against Towson. And then number 2, we got Delaware State and Delaware. So I believe the Delaware State and Delaware game is supposed to be a rivalry, but I also cannot tell you the last time that Delaware State beat Delaware. So is this really a rivalry? It's a little one-sided. Just a little bit. Just muy poquito, right? Because there has been even in Delaware State's best years, the past 5-6 years, they've had no chance against Delaware University, right? And now we talking about Delaware University team that is FBS and has I don't know how many scholarships FBS got, 200, right? They have all their scholarships. So this is changed from a rivalry game to a bye game from Delaware University's perspective, which is why I made this our best bet of the week. And I got Delaware beating Delaware State big, right? I'm not too big into score predictions. Oh, it's going to be 24-22. Can't really tell you that. I can talk to you about some lines, though, right? So if the line right now is 29 points, I probably wouldn't buy into it, put my own money into it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Delaware beats Delaware State by 30 points. I honestly wouldn't. So the other Thursday night game that we got, this game is going to be going on in a couple hours. It's going to be Norfolk and Towson. Okay, this has been getting a lot of mixed reviews from the HBCU podcast side. The original numbers that have come out is that Towson's supposed to win this game by 11 points, right? Which means that, for one, it would be a kind of sour beginning for Norfolk State. but it would be kind of a humbling experience. But I look at Towson as a team that's somewhat rebuilding, kind of like Norfolk, because Towson also lost both of their top quarterbacks this past year and a couple of their top receivers. So, I understand replacing them and bringing in other guys, but I do think that 11-point spread is a little big, right? I think you could buy into that and get you some money. Okay, we got this Howard game, Howard and FAMU going down for the Orange Blossom Classic. I'm not a big fan of Howard and what they got going on this year. Recruiting-wise, I feel like they dropped the ball. And really, we see a Morgan State team that has simply passed them football-wise in a matter of a year or two. So I'm not that big on Howard. I got FAMU winning that game. And let me pull that line up for y'all. That's an interesting line, too. I want to say that line is around 10 points. Yeah, that line is 9 points. Right now they got Florida A&M beating Howard by 9 points, and they also have the over-under at 53, right, which means both teams scoring around 20 or 30 points to get to that total. So that game is a little intriguing. When you talk about like how low that is, I kind of would take that 9 points for FAMU. I think FAMU wins this game by double digits. If you want to be real, I think FAMU. I don't think this game is even close, right? I think FAMU's class is above Howard if you want to talk about football or where they are this year. FAMU just announced their starting quarterback, which is good, and Howard, to me, just lost their potential starting quarterback in Jalen Tolbert to Alcorn in the offseason, and now they try to replace him with Jason Scroggins. So not a big fan of that. And then you got North Carolina Central. Central's playing up against New Hampshire. And really in that Central New Hampshire game, I look to see a Central team that's already on fire to continue what they're doing, right? New Hampshire only won around, I believe 4 or 5 games last year. Not a very strong squad, right? Definitely in my top 3 bets this week on a game that you should buy into. Currently, they have New Hampshire as a favorite right now by 2.5 points over North Carolina Central. And I think this is a good spot to buy into Central and get some money, right? I think if you take Central for these 2.5 points, you have a very good play. You could try for the money line for Central, but I think just buying into those 2 points alone will get you, because I think Central wins this game. And I think Central actually wins this game big, right? This is a Central team that's rolling. They've been playing FCS opponents out of conference for years now. A lot of these players, even like Walker Harris, a 6-year guy, is a guy that's played against the New Hampshires, all of the CAA, the Elons. He has no pressure going into this game. He just came out of a very good showing in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and quite honestly, his volume was very low. Took a lot of underneath routes, didn't take a lot of shots downfield. I could see this game, Walker Harris opening up a can of it, really, because now he's very comfortable in this system, and he's building his confidence week to week. So give me Central in that matchup against New Hampshire. You also got a South Carolina State game against Wofford. Going to be a somewhat interesting game because the teams are kind of close to each other, right, regionally. But South Carolina State, if we got last year to go by, they are seemingly classes ahead of Wofford. But you got to think that South Carolina State takes somewhat of a step back this year. Okay, when you look at South Carolina State and what they have that was leaving, right, you lose your starting quarterback, Eric Phoenix. You lose a couple of your defensive linemen. You also lose your starting linebacker, Aaron Smith. Okay, so this is a new South Carolina State team that will have new captains this year, right? There'll be a new hierarchy amongst the team, right, seemingly. So you got to imagine in week 1, you really kind of want a cupcake match, but you kind of not going to get that, right? You're not going to get that. Using for that. Pick'em is actually on Run Your Pool, Lionel. It's on Run Your Pool. That's Brian and FAMU. He's actually running that right now. So you can join that too. I wish I can get the link for you. It's on Twitter though. Check on Twitter. There's a link. Brian's still accepting people. You could join all the way up to I think week 3. So if you haven't joined that, we can all play it together. But what I was saying with South Carolina State and Wofford, though, it's going to be definitely a super interesting game because Wofford is a team that struggled the past 2 or 3 years as a program, right? And South Carolina State really stomped a hole in them last year, won the game by about 40 points. Almost, they put up 40 points on them. So when I talked to Kobe and listened to him and Tuck on there, I think Tuck or Truck, I'm not sure. Speaking to him on there, they really spoke about how Wofford really wants a lot of get back, right? And it could be a good chance to get some get back, right? You're talking about South Carolina State team that's going to bring in a new quarterback and be in a different position than they were last year, and probably try to find their feet early in this game, right? Against a Wofford team that's going to be chomping at them. But I mean, simply put, if I have the D2 spear to go by with Chennis Berry. He does a very good job in bringing in new quarterbacks. Like even with Eric Phoenix, right? Eric Phoenix was not the quarterback at Benedict the year that Chennis Berry left, right? He had a different quarterback. Eric Phoenix ended up transferring up to Division One that year before. So Chennis Berry does a very good job with a seamless transition between quarterbacks. So I'm not that uh, taken back by what's going to happen at the quarterback position for South Carolina State. I would say for South Carolina State, I would like to see if they can maintain that pressure coming from the defensive line. Right, you still got Jaden Broughton in there, but you lose a couple of your key elements that you brought from Benedict, and now simply put, you're developing some of the guys that you have at South Carolina State. So I'm interested to see the progression of some of these defensive linemen at South Carolina State and how they can continue to bring pressure. South Carolina State talked a lot about their DBs and I think Jared Washington back there, and especially some of the transfer guys they have coming in for this season. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys mesh and really what type of defenses they come out in, whether it's like a 6 DB look or maybe a 7 DB look, and just put as much talent as they can on the field. So I'm interested to see what South Carolina State does this year when thinking about how they'll attack this year, because it'll definitely be a new look team compared to last year. But I think one thing that does stay the same for South Carolina State is that they are going to run the football. So let me check out this line for South Carolina State real quick. If it's on here, what we got? I'm not seeing it. I'm gonna take a look on the app real quick. And also, y'all, I'm getting all of these lines off of FCS Reddit. FCS Reddit, college football, nice little Twitter profile. And every Tuesday they release lines on FCS lines, FBS lines, Division II lines, all those different things. So I'll get that line for y'all in a sec, and we'll talk about the lines a little bit more with South Carolina State and Wofford. But then lastly, I picked South Alabama to beat Morgan State in the pick'em this week. I feel like that was one of the easiest. I always pick the bye games. Look, I'm here to get wins. I ain't here to figure out who's going to be the best rivals, right? So I went ahead and picked South Alabama to beat Morgan State. I believe they're favored by about 30 points in that game. So, if you're a betting man, I would stay away from that one. Morgan State has a good defense, so they probably keep them under. So if you're a betting man, maybe stay around there, but also it's the FCS versus FBS matchup. How much do you have to gain from that, right? Like, I kind of wouldn't. I would prefer not to put my money on the FCS upset. You feel me? So we'll go from there quickly to the SWAC. Shout out to the SWAC, man. SWAC consistently gives us good matchups every year, and quite honestly, the SWAC does a pretty interesting job of playing these classics early in the year, right? Everybody's been talking about the Prairie A&M and Texas Southern matchup, and really, quite honestly, in this past week, it's began to gain more and more momentum and become more and more of a big game, right? A big game atmosphere, and it's really felt more like a mid-season matchup. If you want to be real, it's felt like a mid-season matchup. So let's get into my picks real quickly. So there's a game going on tonight, Alcorn and Northwestern, and that's going to be an interesting game. Alcorn's only favored by 7 points in that game. I'm going to take Alcorn to win that game. We'll talk about the numbers. Alabama State and UAB. I'm taking UAB, of course. UAB is predicted to win that game by about 20 points. Then we got Florida International, Bethune-Cookman. There's no chance Bethune-Cookman's going to win this football game. Willie Simmons is going to win this game by 40 points. I'll give the dub to Florida International. All right, then next, we have one of the biggest games of the week. This one has been talked about a lot, and I didn't really get a chance to do a deep dive on it player-wise or get in depth on what I think is really going to happen. But you're talking about Jackson State and Hampton. This game's going to be at the Vet. Number one, we're going to talk some numbers on this right here. We're going to talk some numbers. Give me a sec. All right, currently, Jackson State is favored to win this football game by 5 points. All right, the over-under is 55 points. All right, I think a couple things will be true in this game. I think that this game will be a high-scoring game. Talking about two offenses that can put up points. And a Hampton team that's a little interesting to me because they said they're still in a quarterback battle. Right? They talked to Coach Boykin this week, and they said that there hasn't been a starter named yet. So I think there's genuinely a quarterback battle. Coach Boykin's a younger coach. It's kind of different approach than what we see down at Southern with Coach Terrence Graves in the quarterback battle. I think that this quarterback battle has actually been going on since the spring. And interestingly enough, it seems like it hasn't even come to an end yet. So Hampton's going to definitely have a very fiery team because essentially this quarterback's still going to be battling throughout the season. If the battle was this close, that means that it could still go another way throughout the rest of the season, right? Somebody gets banged up, somebody has a poor performance. You're that confident in your backup that he might come in. So I think Hampton's going to have a team that, quite honestly, is going to be very fiery, competitive. I look forward to a decent game, but I think there's no way that Jackson State loses this one. I think it's no way. I think you take the points if you're a betting man, and that 5 points, take them. I think it's nothing. I think Hampton's going to have a hard time keeping up with Jackson State's offense. And if that Jackson State defense is even something like it was last year, it's going to provide a lot of problems, right? You talk about the inside with Jeremiah Williams, very strong interior D-line. That's going to present a lot of problems. Hampton, right? They're going to have a very big offensive line. Hampton looks like a pro team, right? So it'll be a good matchup to start. But I think that if Hampton can't move the ball consistently down the field, and if we really start to see the lack of talent that we think that we might see from Hampton because of all their losses in the offseason, it could be a difficult time for Hampton in this one. I think in the second half, JSU might get away from them. So, and even seeing that game, that's such a big game, but it's like in the middle of the slate, right? You still got Florida A&M and Howard. I spoke about that when I spoke about the MEAC. I got Florida A&M winning that game. Florida A&M is favored right now by 9 points. I would take those 9 points, quite honestly. And the over-under on that game is 53 points. I might go under there. I don't think Howard. I'm sorry. Howard. I'm sorry. I'm not Shady McCoy. But Howard, though, is not going to score that many points. I can't really see it. It looks like they're going to start quarterback Scroggins again. He had a hard time holding on to the football at times. I'm not that confident in Howard and what I'm seeing from them. And really, quite honestly, we haven't heard much of them in the offseason. So they're really a wild card, right? They're really a wild card. And all we really know truly is that they have Eden James and a couple of the returners, but they didn't post many players for their National Signing Day, maybe like 10 or 11. So we don't really know what is at Howard right now, talent-wise. And we know so much of Florida A&M's team. I'm way more comfortable leaning on the Florida A&M side. All right. So moving on, we got another bye game, Alabama A&M and Arkansas. This is, we don't even have to really think about this game. This is Arkansas by a lot. Then we got Southern and Mississippi Valley. I'm not a shock jock guy. I think this is Southern by a lot of points. I think Mississippi Valley's going to have a hard time turning things around. I think even through social media, right? I'm looking at Valley, and Valley, they don't really look the part. And that's the social media view. I've no way been at their practice. I don't know anybody that's been at their practices. So just social media-wise, the optics, I've seen Southern bust off some pretty big runs. I've seen the talent that Southern has. I'm way more confident in Southern right now. But Southern is only favored by 12 points in this game, right? It's not as big a spread as you think for a Southern University team that was favored to win the SWAC West. So Vegas is looking at this one a little bit different. And I think Southern has a lot to prove in this game, right? So that 12 points, it may be a tall task. Another thing that Valley has going in their favor right now is that I believe this is also a neutral site game, right? This is a game in Atlanta. So this won't be a home field advantage game for Southern. And I think, oddly enough, I think playing in Itabena has its own home field advantage itself for Mississippi Valley. So I think, this neutral site definitely makes it way more interesting for Southern and how they'll play in this game. But I got Southern in this game. We got to be real about this. I can't see Valley winning too many games this year. I think Coach Buckley's really going to have to prove a lot to me. If he thinks that, Valley's going to walk in here and just beat Southern, I don't see it. Amongst the problems at Southern, I think Southern can run that same game script they ran against Central and beat Valley, right? Just want to be real about it. Also, we'll see the return of Jalen Woods, hopefully, which will be fun to watch, and hopefully Southern can throw the ball between the hashes this game. Next up, we got another bye game, UAPB and Texas Tech. This game currently is favored for Texas Tech to win by 52 points. All right, so do with that what you can. I don't know. Next game, we got Prairie A&M and Texas Southern. Currently, the betting odds have this game. Let me see 1 point which way or the other. It has Prairie A&M winning this game by 1 point. My bad, we're not screen. 1 point, right? So it's pretty much a pick 'em at this point. Not sure if the beef that was stirred up caused this, But I will say this, right? This game is on one of my top 3 plays of the week, right? For many reasons. So number one, it's a pick 'em. So we're probably not gonna pick a team to win this game. I mean, unless you feel that strongly about your affinity to the team. But for one, the over under on this game is 52 points. Interestingly enough. So if you are a strong proponent of Prairie A&M winning this game, right, you would have to assume that they score at least 30 points in this opener, right? If this game is going to be 52 points total, because Texas Southern last year scored over 20 points only 5 times, and they averaged 21 points a game in 2024, right? So if they scored 21 points, you still got, 33 points to make up. You got to assume that Prairie A&M is going to win this game like 33-21, right? Something like that. So if you're a proponent of Prairie A&M winning this game, I think that you may take the points on there. You may take the over on there. Maybe you think Prairie gets up by a lot on these guys, and maybe they get into an old-fashioned shootout. But for me, I would take the under, right? Last game they played, this total was 36 points. The game was 9-27. The past 3 games before that, it was over, right? So understand that. But I would definitely take the under in this game. I think that this game is going to be a hard-hitting game, a very defensive game, a game where either team is not going to want to give up an inch, right? So I can't see too many blown assignments, even though it is week 1, and we will see some. I can't see as many blown assignments, knowing as though this is a big rivalry now, and now this has been a lot of yapping throughout the week, and 2 teams that are super energized to get out there and tear each other's heads off. So I think this is a game you stay away from if you talk about money lines. But if you want to pick something to bet on in this game, I think you definitely go under that point total, and you keep it safe, right? You want to be able to bet into this game, but understand that who's going to win this game, I think, is anybody's bet, right? So stay away from that. And then you also got Grambling and Langston down here. Not too interesting, but I did find something that was noteworthy, all right? So we'll see if the official lines come out for this game. Sometimes in the NAIA games, we don't get any lines. The early line that was posted for this game is that Grambling will win this game by 30 points. That's the spread, 30 points. Grambling by 30 points over Langston, right? Which is interesting because I believe they only have UAB beating Alabama State by 20 points, right? So if that line does post tomorrow, guys, or if it does post this weekend, I think that we buy in, right, to Langston covering that 30-point spread against Grambling. I'm not going to lie to you. Grambling has not proved to us that they are this high-flying machine that Mickey Joseph has always pitched to us, right? We even have a team at Grambling where Mickey Joseph is now coaching the offense, calling plays. Mickey Joseph has never called offensive plays in his life right now, right? So something you definitely got to watch. Something fun to throw in there. But, yeah, I like Langston to at least cover. I don't think they score many points. I don't think this game is rather close. But I definitely think Langston is a play you could make. Oh, link for the pick'em. Oh, yeah, nah, Blue, we got to get you in the pick'em for sure. We can't. She loves D. Keep whooping us in pick'em, dog. She came in second this year. Fangs up. Also went crazy in the pick'em. So we definitely got to watch out for them. And then lastly, we're going to get into the SIAC real quick with a couple of these picks, and then we'll get into lines. I got about 50, 40 lines for us to get into, and we're going to break them down. I'm going to give y'all my top 5 plays for this week. So here's the SIAC schedule for this week. This is an interesting SIAC schedule, especially seeing as though there's so many non-conference games. We got a couple CIAA matchups. And the most interesting matchup on here is probably the Tuskegee and Winston-Salem State matchup. Interestingly enough, though, Tuskegee is favored to lose that game by 5 points. And I also think Winston-Salem will win that game. So I give the nod to Draylon. And to really understand this game, I think it's going to be a big game. Winston-Salem's coach has said that this game is going to feel like a home game. He thinks that Winston-Salem tend to travel well. They always tend to pull up, and they always tend to be at these away games. You know, he was kind of throwing some. He was talking crazy. I'm not gonna lie, but Winston-Salem does have a better team, right? I know that Harry Williams is still the offensive coordinator down at Tuskegee. He was a bad offensive coordinator at Morehouse. He was a bad offensive coordinator at Alabama State, and he has been a bad offensive coordinator at Tuskegee the past couple of years. We got to be real. Tuskegee has a great quarterback in Raekwon Bill. I think he can get the ball all over the place. I think you got to let him throw the ball at least 30 times a game to get the full effect of what Raekwon Bill is. But Tuskegee has consistently told themselves that they are a run-heavy team, and I think that will be their Achilles heel against Winston-Salem State because Winston-Salem is going to put up some points on Sunday. I guarantee you that. All right. So, of the other games on this slate, let me pull up my picks real quick, make sure I give y'all exactly what I'm thinking. But up top, we got Kentucky State and Central State. I got Kentucky State in this game. Central State has a very good coaching staff. They're bringing a wealth of talent from the junior college level. So you got to think that this Central State team is going to be good towards the middle of the season. But in week one, you're going up against a buzzsaw, in my opinion, because Kentucky State won like 5 of their last 6 games last year. They also have a pretty good quarterback in Denham Johnson that threw for 12 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions on the year. He's only a young guy, so you got to expect him to have a really stronger progression in year 2 for him. So I really think that Kentucky State could come out here and show the SIAC that they are a strong team again by winning against Central State, and I got them in that game. All right. Below them, you got Albany State and Shaw. This was probably game of the year last year, if you don't recall. This game was decided on the last play of the game. It's like a Hail Mary play. The game ended in 45-42. But this year, I don't think it's close, y'all. I don't think it's close. Albany State is probably the top team in the SIAC right now. They're going to bring in some of the most talent from the SIAC squads. And Shaw just lost their head coach, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure Shaw's head coach just went down to Elizabeth City State as their head coach. So they lose a lot of players. I know they lost at least 11 players in the portal to Elizabeth City State. And now they're coming into an Albany State game where they're going to host it. But this Albany State team has a lot of returners, and they're pissed off from last year. I'm going to keep it, but they're pissed off, right? They lost last year on that I think the grand opening of the Blue Turf, they lost to Shaw. So this next year coming up, right, they're going to look to crash Shaw's party. I got Albany State by a lot in that one. Below that game, we got Clark and Valdosta State, right? Now, this game has been heavily spoken about, right, in HBCU circles. Everybody's talking about Clark and Valdosta. I like Clark a lot. Sorry about saying that. But the betting odds right now is for Valdosta State to beat Clark by 24 points. Those are the odds. So let's also dial back expectations right now, okay? Although they do lose a lot of their players, right? They lose players to the portal. They lose players to Prairie A&M, everything, right? This Valdosta program, I believe that the coach of the Valdosta now is one of the coordinators from Tremaine Jackson's regime. This Valdosta team that they have now is in some ways just reloading, right? They're also still Valdosta. They still attract a lot of talent. One of the issues at Valdosta was that they weren't operating under full scholarships. They weren't operating under all 36 scholarships at the time, and that's one of the beefs that Tremaine Jackson had with Valdosta is that they're kind of operating not like a top 10 D2 program. So, just one of the quarrels. So, you got to understand that as much talent as I'm saying that Valdosta is bringing in, it's also tempered a little bit with the fact that they can't bring in all of their guys. So, the fact that we're seeing a 24-point spread from Valdosta to Clark, I thought was a little eye-opening, and I think that's not true, right? If this could be bet on, I definitely would take the points with Clark, but I do think Valdosta win this game. I think they win this game. I think as good as Clark is, I like Zy McDonald down there. I like Armand Harris. I think they can light it up. I think Clark could score a lot of points in this game, but I'm not that sold on Clark winning this big non-conference game. And I must say, who am I to say that Clark won't win this game? Last year they played very well in non-conference. They ended up having a tie game with Florida Memorial because of a rain delay, and they also beat Bethune-Cookman, right? So who's to say Clark doesn't win this game? But the fact that David Wright isn't on that sideline for Clark, I lose a little bit of my confidence in thinking that Clark's going to beat Valdosta State. So give me Valdosta in that matchup. Matchup right below there, we got Johnson C. Smith and Morehouse. Give me Johnson C. Smith by a lot of points. We got a super team versus Morehouse, a team that is unwilling to buy into the whole football program, right? And I'm even repping Morehouse today. I'm repping them, but it's not to say that they're going to win this game. It's not happening. It's not happening, man. I always got to rep Pop School, but it's not happening. I'm not going to front. So below them, we got Benedict and Fayetteville State. Benedict is favored to win this game, actually, by 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look again. What's most interesting about Benedict is the fact that I think they might end up winning the SIAC. But actually, no. Fayetteville State is favored to win this game by 3 points. So we'll take the points if this was a betting match. And Fayetteville State has an interesting team. They've struggled the past 3 years, right? I say interesting and bad. They aren't a very good team. They've been average or below average the past 3 years, right? We're looking at a Benedict team that's somewhat been the same. Speaking about how they've fallen off since Chennisberry. So this matchup used to be, would once be a like mid-tier CIAA and SIC matchup. But I think at the end of the year, we're going to be looking at this Benedict team saying, wow, how'd they get back to the SIC championship? So I think this game means a lot, but I think Benedict wins this game by a lot of points. We're talking about a Darius Ocean that transfers into Benedict that was also in the CIAA for like the past 2 years, right, playing at Johnson C. Smith. I'm not sure if they played Fayetteville State, but I'm just saying that Darius Ocean is very comfortable in the CIAA, right? So the CIAA matchup shouldn't be much different for him. I don't think he'll have very many butterflies. He's also a graduate senior, so you got to imagine that he's going to lead that Benedict offense. And also Benedict's defense has the SIC preseason player of the year, right? So I think Benedict wins this game by a lot. Not really sure why Fayetteville State is favored in this one. Then last we get to the other column, right? We got Fort Valley and West Alabama. I think Fort Valley loses this game by a lot. I think it looks like Jackie Hart, he was once the quarterback at Bluefield State, is going to be the starter over at Fort Valley. So, for whatever that means. But West Alabama is just going to – I mean, is that West Alabama, right? There's a buzz. So, I mean, I don't see any chance that Fort Valley wins that game. And I like Fort Valley, but this is going to be a very big rebuild year for them. They lose Malik Harper to South Carolina State. Like, they lose so many big pieces of what made Fort Valley so good these last couple of years. So many guys that have matriculated through Sean Gibbs' system that have now left, and now you're left to rebuild with a new coach, right? And I think that'll take a year. And they're simply put not ready for this West Alabama game. Like Sean Gibbs and Kelvin Durham and all those guys and Malik Harper, those guys are ready for West Alabama. But what has been left here at Fort Valley State is just not ready for West Alabama up to this point now. And, I don't know. It could get nasty. You got Allen versus Moorhead. That's a bye game. We're not going to talk about it. Moorhead by a lot. Then you got Savannah State and Edward Waters. I heard Slides talking big about Edward Waters. I'm not a big proponent of Edward Waters this year, especially if Eric Dooley's that offensive coordinator. They haven't announced anything yet, and I don't think they even put it out on their website. But not that big on Edward Waters. I think Savannah State is actually a team we got to watch out for. All right, we got Savannah State down there with Eric Gilbert. He was once at LSU, and then he was at, I think he went to like Ohio State for a year or something like that. I don't know. He's been in no man's land for like a year or so. But now he's going to settle down at Savannah State. So that's a big 6'5" tight end with about 245 pounds on him. All right, so you're looking at a Savannah State team that's pretty strong. You got Jaden Sullivan down there, quarterback. Look like he might even be the backup. He might even start for them. So I think Savannah State's loaded talent-wise. I think Savannah State also makes a very big push in the SIAC this year. Last game, before we get into the rest of these odds, we got Miles and Virginia Union, okay? So Miles isn't the team we saw last year with Sam Shade. They have a new head coach. They lose a lot of their talent to Alabama A&M, of course, and to the transfer portal. And they're going up against a buzzsaw Virginia Union, okay? Virginia Union has been Virginia Union, right? And they've mostly been the Jada Byers show. But now they transition. They have a new backup running back, Allen. Can't remember his first name. I don't want to say it wrong, but his last name is Allen. Still like 6'2", 230 pounds, right? So they got a tank at running back now. You go from Jada Byers, like Tariq Cohen, to like Brandon Jacobs, okay? So Virginia Union, they're going to keep on doing what they do. Alvin Parker is still the coach and the athletic director at Virginia Union, so they're going to get the guys they want. I know Virginia Union did lose some to the portal. You lose like I think Will Davis to like West Virginia and a couple other guys to some big schools. But Virginia Union, as always, finds a way to reload, and I think they're probably the number one, looking like the number one in the CIAA going into the season. And we have been robbed. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Like, we have literally been robbed of a great matchup because Sam Shade went to Alabama A&M. Like, being able, if we could see last year Miles and last year Virginia Union go head to head, all would be right. All would be right. If we could see Sam Shade and Alvin Parker go head to head, all would be right. But I'm pretty sure this game was decided last year, a couple years ago, when at the time both coaches were still there. And now we lose Sam Shade in the offseason. So this Miles team is just not going to look the same. Give me Virginia Union by a gang of points, like a lot of points, okay? It's going to be a hard time for Miles, I think, the first couple of games. I think they can end up finding their footing and actually making a true push in the SIAC. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, right? Just gonna take a little bit of time. So let's get into the odds. These are the odds. It's a lot of odds, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. This is like A to H, okay? And then I got an H to Z, okay? So it's numbers, big numbers. But I think most importantly though, we're gonna get through these and we're gonna find out some of the best plays for you guys. And I'll bring up some of my favorite plays that we have up on the screen right now. So number one, we want to stay away from that UAB game up here. That UAB game is not going to be any fun for us. UAB is honestly going to terrorize Alabama State. Let's stay away from that. The Delaware game up here, we got Delaware by 30 points over Delaware State. You could take that if you want. I think it's, if you want to take the money line, we take the money line. But quite frankly, let's stay away from these type of crazy plays. You're not going to make much money from it. Going down below then, you got a D2 matchup, Livingstone and Charleston, West Virginia. But most importantly, like I talked about earlier, we got Towson and Norfolk State, all right? So Towson, Norfolk State, if you think that Norfolk State is worth anything, then I think you buy into this a little bit. You buy into maybe Norfolk State covers that 12-point spread. This game will be happening, any minute now. But I think that that's the game I'll buy into, right? If you are a fan of Vic, right, take that out of this. Okay, straight up, take that out of this. This is not like the Deion sensation when he brings in like 25 stars and brings in a gang of super top guys. Look, Mike Vick and his staff, they brought in some top players on their respective teams, okay, and brought in some younger guys that have potential to be strong FCS players, okay. But simply put, though, I honestly would say that I think that Delaware State honestly brought in more offensive firepower than Norfolk State. Right, talk about Caden Bennett at quarterback, Pelham. Talk about all the young guys they got at receiver. I think you can make a strong argument that Delaware State probably attracted more talent to come in skill-wise than Norfolk State. Norfolk ended up bringing in Israel Carter. You bring in a host of guys from Hampton, at least 5 guys. So they have a somewhat strong squad. But really, when you look at Vegas and how Vegas viewed this to put Towson up 12 points on them, you got to think that they give a lot of respect to Towson and less respect to the new first-year head coach, Mike Vick, right? So tons of questions around Mike Vick, but I definitely would take those 12 points in that matchup. Moving on down, you got to imagine that this Clark Atlanta and Valdosta game, see, it's 31 points, not even 24, 34 points. When you even think about this Clark Atlanta and Valdosta game, you got to think, come on, like 31 points, right? Like, could I buy into that? So I really can't see Clark losing by that many points. The over-under on that game is pretty trippy because now you got a 55 points. So you got this game being like essentially a lot to a little. Kind of hard to see that. But down towards the bottom, I got a game I really like a lot. Talking about Florida A&M and Howard, right? Florida A&M and Howard, definitely going to be a great matchup. Talk about the OBC. A game where Florida A&M, and really a season where you got to imagine Florida A&M trying to bounce back and become what they once were, where the past couple of seasons we kind of assume Florida A&M is going to be one of the top teams in the SWAC East, whereas now it's not so much a guarantee. It's not. And it's proven season, right? These first couple of games of the season, you want to see Florida A&M really show a good showing against a Howard team that's been lowly, since their trip to Celebration Bowl. So I think Florida A&M hops on them. You got a 9-point spread right now for Florida A&M over Howard. I think you go ahead and buy in all in on that. Eat those 9 points up. I want to take a look at the 59 points though. I don't think it's a spread where you go 59 points for a Howard and FAMU game. I don't think if Willie Simmons is at FAMU, we can see a 59-point spread by these teams. I don't think we ever get to that point. I think it's safe to say that you can go under that 59 points for Florida A&M and Howard. I don't think there's any way we get up to that number. I think Howard can't score that many points, right? You want to talk about a team with Scroggins, a player that struggles with turnovers, Eden James, and quite honestly, I'm assuming, right, and we're going to see after week 1, that Howard is just going to take a big step back this year. I really don't see a lot of the most promising things that I usually see from Howard going into the next season. Usually they've pushed themselves on their front line, whether they're offensive line or defensive line, whether it's been Broken Burr or Aneem Dankwall over the past couple of years. I don't really see that strong of a push again. And I'm also seeing that they're losing a lot of talent and not really replacing it, right? You're bringing in a lot of young guys you're expecting to develop. Like I know they got Kenny Gallup's little brother out there now starting. But I haven't seen as strong acquisitions as the rest of the MEAC at Howard, right? But they have been able to keep some of their players and retain some talent. So it's going to be a very interesting game when you think about a Howard team going all the way down to Florida A&M. But give me Florida A&M by a lot. And then lastly, at the bottom down here, we got Grambling and Langston. 35 points, I mean, I don't think Grambling's 35 points better than Langston. You want to be real? I don't think Grambling can score that many points. You want to be real? I think that in this matchup, I think about a year ago or a year or two ago, we saw Grambling and Florida Memorial go head-to-head with each other. And we saw Florida Memorial score a gang of points on them. So I don't think, like, Grambling is this big unstoppable force that's going to go ahead and score the most points of the week. You know what I mean? Blowout, have the biggest blowout of the week. I can't really see it in week one from Graham. So I'll be inclined to buy into that 35 points. But there's no way Langston's going to win this game. Got to be real with ourselves. No way they take this one home. But I'd buy into that point total there. On this next slide, though, Adrian, I see what you said, man. Texas Southern by 3. Interesting. I mean, it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's a low-scoring game for sure. I picked PV, though. I think after the interview situation, all that stuff, I think we were talking about a lot of pissed off Prairie A&M players. And, you don't want to run into that. So, it's my A to H. Here's my H to U. Bow. Let's move it up a little bit. All right, I like that. Bow. All right. So, here's the rest of our odds here. So, we got Hampton and Jackson State up here. Hampton-Jackson State, definitely the most talked about matchup of the week. It's going to be something that we're going to, probably think like signifies, how the season's going for this Jackson State team. But off the back, I think they win this game, right? They're only favored by 5 points here. I think it probably should have been a little bit more. I think that we're looking at a Jackson State team that's probably the strongest HBCU squad other than North Carolina Central, right? Probably 1 and 2, however you put it, 1A, 1B possibly. Right, but this game here is a game for Jackson State to show that, right? It took for North Carolina Central to beat up on Southern for us to truly take notice and go, okay, Central is the team. Like, this Central is the class of HBCU football. They are one of the top squads. So I think this game for Jackson State is another showcase game where Jackson State has to put their foot on Hampton's necks, right? You can't win this game by 5 points, right? If you want to say that you're one of the top HBCUs. I think that Jackson State has to win this game by plus 14 points. I think that 5-point spread, if I'm a betting man, I eat that up. I take that Jackson State by 5 off the back. I think there's no way I stay away from that. I don't think Jackson State is just 5 points better than Hampton. I think they're probably 7 or 8 points better than Hampton. So 5 points, I'd eat that up. Pay attention to that spread. The closer we get to game time, though, I'm sure it'll change. We got Kentucky State game. I think Kentucky wins that game, like we said. Lincoln, non-bettable games. Then we got Morgan State and South Alabama. So I mentioned Morgan State and South Alabama earlier because South Alabama, I think, is that much better than Morgan. And to be honest, I think that's a non-bettable game. Stay away. We got a couple bye games this week, like that one. Stay away. I mean, 29 points is, you'd assume that South Alabama is that much better than Morgan. But Morgan's been playing some damn good defense in these non-conference games, right? Whether it's Ohio, Toledo, anybody, all of their non-conference games you look over the years, Morgan State definitely shows up to these games and makes a difference in these games. So you got to imagine Morgan State's going to play South Alabama really tough. A game you want to stay away from betting-wise. I'm trying to tell you, stay away from this betting-wise. I would not take those 29 points. The game could be closer than this. But the biggest question is always going to be, what's Morgan State going to bring in at quarterback, right? It looks like they're going to be like the guy Kobe Maso is going to be the quarterback at Morgan State this year, which is, could be good. I mean, we haven't heard of the guy. I think he comes from like a naval institute or something like that, one of the military institutes. So, or a Western New Mexico institute, one of them top institutes. So Morgan State's going to have something, right? But can't imagine they're going to win this game or the game's even going to be close, right? But the game I really wanted to speak about was New Hampshire and North Carolina Central, right? We mentioned it earlier because North Carolina Central and New Hampshire are, I wouldn't say they're rivals. They're both in Durham, right? Both in Durham. They played each other before. A couple years ago, they played each other in a decent matchup. But this year, they have New Hampshire favored to beat North Carolina Central by 2 points. And honestly, I can't see that. I cannot see that. I think that this North Carolina Central team is primed to win FCS games, like non-conference games. Like, they are built for that. They do all the things right. You're looking at a team that all 11 players move in the same direction. That's Central, right? I think that's a point right here. You can make a lot of money. Go ahead, buy in on that game. Take that 2 points and shove it, right? Even the money line for Central should be golden in that matchup. Central, New Hampshire, I'm calling upset, right? Give me Central by at least 14 points in this game. New Hampshire struggled a lot last year. I don't really see how they even come up and get to this 2.5 point spread. I don't see how they get there. So next after that, we got North Carolina A&T and Tennessee State. Probably one of the ugliest games of the week. Don't expect too many points out of either team. I don't think much is gonna happen. I think that we're looking at a Tennessee State team that's really gonna try to. Two teams are looking to rebuild, right? Tennessee State in particular, though, I think the fact that they lost a lot of their players hurts them more. So how they're favored by 9 points in this matchup behooves me. I have no idea. I would be afraid to take North Carolina A&T in the points here in this situation because A&T has been so bad in the past couple of years. You got to imagine Sean Gibbs gets them on track to becoming a at least formidable FCS team. But quite honestly, I would put my money on Sean Gibbs getting this team ready to go faster than Reggie Barlow. Simply put, the fact that A&T kept so many players. Like, A&T kept so many players during this turnover of new staffs compared to Tennessee State, who loses virtually every starter you had. Between graduation and transfer portal, you only return 4 guys with any starting snaps. You're in a very bad position, right? Week 1, you're trying to figure out who's who. With A&T, I think you're trying to figure out who's who, but also you have a lot to go off of. You're still developing some players that Vincent Brown brought in over the past couple of years. You're not in such a dire situation of just trying to find players to fill your roster. You're simply trying to find better players to put on this roster, right? So Sean Gibbs has been able to coach up a lot of these guys since the spring, all through the spring. Advantage, North Carolina A&T. I don't see how there's any way that Tennessee State will be favored by 9 points. And if we see that, we're definitely going to buy in and throw that into the parlay. All right, we spoke about Prairie A&M earlier being favored over Texas Southern by a point. I got Prairie A&M in this game. I'm pretty confident picking PV. I think just Texas Southern's issues scoring the football last year, only averaging 21 points a game, really scare me in a Game 1 matchup where I don't feel like they added very much talent to their offensive. So, really, I think they're going to be put in a different position where you can see this PV team taking a lot of shots, right? We haven't seen their offense yet. This is really a blind pick, if you want to be real. All these teams with new coaches and stuff, these are blind picks. I'm going to keep it a buck. These are blind picks. These are educated guesses, right? But PV and Texas Southern, I haven't liked, Texas Southern's play style the past couple of years. All that aside, their play style hasn't led to points, right? They've only averaged around 21 points a game. Not very strong for a Division I team, okay? Going into this game also, you got a Chris Dishman out here smacking his lips, talking a whole bunch of smack, right? Also giving that advantage to PV in that situation. You're firing up the other team. You're giving a lot of bulletin board material, right? This is a toss-up game. This ain't too much about X's and O's. It's about who wants it more, right? I'm not going to tell y'all about too many X's and O's in this game. This is about which team brings their lunch pail to work, all right? That's why I would stay away from picking who's going to win this game or any money line situations. I'll probably just go under, right? In good games, a lot of good games go under that line, right? So I go under this game. The game right now, the total is 52 points. I can't see either team really pushing it to get to that point, so we'll take the under there. Next up, as I spoke about earlier, we got Southern and Mississippi Valley. This game is favored 12 points to Southern, but also Mississippi Valley is favored to lose this game, right? But the total is only 49 points, which I thought was very interesting. I think that Southern could score 49 points on Mississippi Valley themselves, right? From what I saw from last week, this is a Southern team that's super explosive, a team that can score a bunch of points in a snap of a second. Cam McCoy can get there in a snap of a second. If this Southern team can score on Central, they can score on Valley. Okay? Put all that in perspective. Give me Southern, right? Give me Southern. I wouldn't take the points, but I would go over this point total, right? We got a 49-point total. I'd go over that point total and give me Southern to take this, right? I'll put that in the parlay also. Also, we got Tuscaloosa and Bluefield State. All right, that's a wash. And then we got UAPB and Texas Tech. So this UAPB and Texas Tech game, it's a big wash. Stay away. Over under 57 points. They got Texas Tech scoring 52 of them points. Also, take in mind that UAPB played against like Arkansas last year and lost like 60-0. So some of these bye games, absolutely 110% stay away from. And that's one of the games to stay away from. But from my top 3 plays this week, as I mentioned as we was talking about them, right? This Towson game in Norfolk, you might have missed out on it, but I'd take those points on that. I'd buy back on those 14 points for Norfolk. We got A&T and Tennessee State. There's a Tennessee State line that has Tennessee State winning by 9.5 points. I'd buy into those points for A&T. I'd take A&T to cover that 9.5-point spread. I think A&T could actually win this game versus Tennessee State. We got New Hampshire and North Carolina Central. With New Hampshire's supposed to win this game by 2.5 points over North Carolina Central. I think North Carolina Central actually wins this game. You could take the money line for North Carolina Central, or you could take North Carolina Central to buy back on those 2.5 points. I think there's no way Central loses this game, and is it over under 53 points? Probably stay away from it, but I think the safer bet is to take North Carolina Central to win this one. Another game we're going to buy into, Langston and Grambling. Right, NAIA, FCS matchup. It's a long shot, right, but a chance to make some money. So if you were to buy into this game, I'd buy into Langston covering those 35 points versus Grambling. Can't see Grambling getting that many points up. To be honest, Mickey Joseph calling this game. This will be his first game calling in life, right? So you got to assume there's going to be some issues going on there, and it won't be as smooth as everybody think it is. I think that Langston and Quentin Morgan go into the hole, score a couple points, and cover the 35-point spread. Moving on, we got Prairie A&M. This is my last of my top plays. Prairie A&M at Texas Southern on the soccer field. I got this game going under the point total of 52 points, right? I think it's going to be a hard-hitting game. Two teams going to be smacking each other across the face, play in and play out. I can't see this either team scoring a lot of points. Texas Southern has scored 21 points over the remainder of the last season. They only scored over 20 points 5 times. I think we're going under, right? I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I think we're going under, like way under, okay? 52-point spread, I think you're safe to go under that one. Wouldn't be so confident picking either team to win. It's definitely a pick'em game. Crook, what you got for me, man? I got the second star Dishman. The boy pulled up in there looking just like Mace Windu, man. I don't know what that fit was. Where you get that from? I have no idea where he got that from. Yeah, McCoy won. I think McCoy still gets some plays, though, man. I think even though McCoy isn't the starter for Southern, I think he'll still get some reps. I think he'll just go back to the same role he was at Jackson State. I think that he goes back to that role, the Wildcat quarterback. And look, that's good. That's good, right? Isn't it good to have a Swiss Army knife in your back pocket? Right? Have a weapon like that? 1984, yeah, nah, he got that from way back. So, again, I'll go through my pick'em real quick. Give you another look at my pick'em before we get out of here. I got to practice again today, y'all. I got to practice. So let's show y'all this. Do that, and then let's do this. Bow. All right, so here's my pick'em for the week, guys. I went through it earlier. Stayed away from Norfolk and Towson game. My best bet of the week, we got Delaware State over Delaware. I think this is a shoe-in. If you want to talk about what's going to happen, Delaware right now is picked to win by 30 points over Delaware State. I think there's no way that Delaware State wins this game. And look, man, I might be eating crow tomorrow, but today I'm all in on this. This is the FBS program going against a first-year head coach and an FCS program, right? 1 + 1 = 2 in the situation. Delaware by a lot of points. That's my best bet. So Also, we're going to go easy. Take the bye game. Give me UAB over Alabama State. We're going to make this easy, man. I'm trying to win pick 'em. We're picking the easiest games. All right. For the international, Bethune-Cookman, Willie Simmons is going to stomp a hole in Bethune-Cookman. They're going to win by a bunch of points. Okay. So that's an easy pick 'em game. Give me for the international over Bethune-Cookman on a cold Friday. All right. Skipping over all the rest of these tough games. Okay. We're not picking none of the tough games. Going all the way down, we got South Carolina State and Wofford. Okay. Definitely got to take this one. I think South Carolina State is a shoo-in to beat Wofford. They put their hands on them last year. Wofford's going to be out here for blood. All right, I get it. Wofford is pissed off. They took a tough L to South Carolina State last year. They don't want to repeat that game. Sure. But I'm here to tell you, they're going to be repeat offenders. They're going to whoop that ass again. Give me South Carolina State over Wofford. Okay, Wofford, whatever, dog. South Carolina State, Chennis Berry. I'm looking forward to seeing Billy Atkins out there. I'm assuming Billy Atkins starter. Maybe it's Reggie Stubblefield. Not sure. But I think South Carolina State, nonetheless, puts up a gang of points. And then on the bottom, you guys aren't going to be able to see. I can kind of let me see, man. Hold on. There we go. So South Alabama, Morgan State. That's my last game that I picked on the pick 'em. I got South Alabama beating Morgan State by a gang of points. Just over 14 points. So I think they're a safe pick to pick 'em, to be honest. I got a couple of bye games. But my only FCS games, I got South Carolina State over Wofford. And then for the tiebreaker this year, tiebreaker this week, is Texas Southern and Prairie A&M. Okay, so Texas Southern, Prairie A&M, I got the combined points being 52 points. Well, actually, it should be lower, but usually every week, y'all go ahead and give y'all mine. Y'all get it locked into my mind. I think we'll go under that, right? But every week when they talk about combined points, I just pick whatever the over-under is. I'm going to keep it a buck. I just pick whatever the over-under is. I pick what Vegas picks, okay? But as I can see, last year I went crazy. 43-6, okay? This year we look to repeat that. I skipped like 2 or 3 weeks last year. And look, I need y'all to tell me, bro, isn't they math off? Shouldn't I have been number 1, even though I missed a couple weeks? Like, even though Fang's up, got 6 more wins, he got 5 more losses. Like, is that better than my record? Am I tripping? Am I off? Like, I even asked Brian, I was like, bro, am I tripping? I asked him on Twitter, like, oh, yeah, we do a point system or something. I'm like, bro, I don't know, doggy. I have no clue. But that's most of what I got, y'all. It's been a pretty fun show to pick 'em. We want y'all to do this every week. I'll get better with the pick 'em, and we'll figure out a better style for it, though. But I want to make sure I got through all of my picks of the week. We'll make sure we'll do this weekly. I'm starting to develop a weekly schedule now, y'all. Finally, I got a weekly schedule, okay? Got a weekly schedule. Every Monday, we will be live. Every Monday. No matter what, we'll be live, okay? And then also on Wednesdays, we're going to try to make Wednesdays the Division II show, okay? Wednesdays, we'll go live in the afternoon and we'll do a Division II show. Then on Thursdays, we'll do our weekly Pick'em show. I'll hop on here. I'll show you all my picks of the week. I'll also go through every HBCU game and give you guys every one of my picks between Division I and Division II, no matter what. Right? So you got me. So Mondays, we got a show. Wednesday will be a D2 show. And Thursdays, I'll do my weekly Pick'em show. Right? So we'll start posting that schedule. Make it a little regular so everybody can tune in and know when to tune in. Because, right now I kind of been doing these random shows. I know it's killing y'all. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And everybody, please like the stream if you're up in here. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in and really staying with me, man, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of a wild card. I hop on here every now and then throughout the week, but it's no set schedule. But from now on, we'll have our set schedule. We'll always do it a certain way. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I thank everybody for tapping in with me, man. It's your boy, Kelly Flicks. This was another episode of HBCU Flicks, and I'm out of here.